Oh, is this working? I'm switching mics. Is that good? You like that? I don't have sparkly shoes. I'm feeling a little inadequate today, but it's so good to be here. I'm so delighted. It's been a long time since I've been here. This is one of my church families. I'm blessed to have many across the country, and I always feel like I'm coming home when I'm here with you. And I love the music. Feel it. And I love this song because that song has one of my favorite scriptures where it says, by this you will know, by this they will know that we are disciples. It doesn't matter what creeds you recite, what church you go to, where you're from. It doesn't matter anything except how do we love each other. By this people will know that we get it, right? That's how we know. So this is my story. It begins in a freshman psychology class. I went to Texas Tech, go Raiders. And I was in the freshman class 101, and you know those classes that are huge with hundreds and hundreds of students. It was one of those classes. And one of the things they made all the freshmen do was all the freshmen had to be the guinea pigs for the upperclassmen to do their psychology projects on. That was one of the ways we graduated from the class. And I, being the overachiever that I thought myself to be, I thought, well, I'm going to do all of my studies. I'm going to do all the tests first, get them out of the way, and then coast through the end of the semester. So that's what I did. I did my first test, and then I did the second test, and then the third test was a written test, and we were in this big room. There were hundreds of other freshmen there, and it was a questionnaire, and it asked me things like my birth order and where I was from and certain things about what I believed and what experiences I'd had. And so I filled it out page after page after page, turned it in, and considered myself done. I've done the test part of this. But it turns out I wasn't done. A week later, I got a call from one of the upperclassmen saying, we're doing another experiment and we would like for you to participate. And I said, well, you don't understand. I'm done. I did all mine. I don't have to do any more of those. And there's about 500 other freshmen who could probably do that test for you. And they said, no, we really want it to be you. In fact, if you'll come, we've got pizza. And we'll give you $20. And so I was like, I am there. Hello. Those are the magic words for me. So I went, and they had me, on a computer doing weird stuff and stacking blocks and doing all these strange things. And the whole time I was doing this, I was thinking of all the hundreds of people in my freshman class, thinking, why did it matter that it was me? What was it? Why are they offering me pizza and $20? Why couldn't they have gotten somebody else from my class? And the question just gnawed at me so that when I left, I had to ask. So I asked the person who was overseeing the experiment, why, of all the people you could have chosen for this, why was it so important that it was me? So here's what he told me. Life-changing revelation. Are you ready for it? He said, when you did that test, you tested completely average. Yes. That makes me very special, doesn't it? I am completely average. So I was very important to them. I became the bar by which everyone else could be considered above average or below average. So I guess that's a very important thing for them. So once my ego recovered from that awareness, I decided that I was not going to be average anymore. I was going to be at least slightly above average. So clearly I need to work a little harder. So I started putting myself out there. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get on the leading edge and get into all these really cool out there on the edge, on the fringe things. And so I would do that for a while, and then I would find after I'd done it for a while that everybody else would kind of catch up with me, and it really wasn't that extraordinary anymore. And so I started looking at my life, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a middle child. I'm from a middle-class family. I grew up in the suburbs. Like, oh my God, I am average. I am totally and completely average. And then I thought, what if, because, I tried, what if it doesn't matter how hard I try? What if no matter what I do, I'm destined to be average? What if no matter how hard I try, everyone's going to eventually catch up with me and I'm going to be average again? So I thought, what if it's my destiny? But then I thought, what if actually average is my superpower? Because I thought if average is my destiny, then that means anything that I do to improve myself, to love and to grow and to serve is going to raise the bar for all of humanity. Yes? Yeah? Yeah? So that is the secret game I have been playing since I was a freshman in college is, what if I'm on this quest to raise consciousness, to elevate consciousness, and that anything that I do for myself will impact the whole. We have had an amazing weekend together, ladies, yes? Woohoo! And together we have been talking about the power of love, and we are on a quest, are we not? Yes, we are raising the bar, yes? Yes, so we are raising the bar in terms of what is possible for elevating consciousness through the power of love. So that's the quest that we're on. Anyone else interested in joining that quest? Say, I am. You said it. We heard you. We heard you. And the universe hears us. When we say yes to the quest, suddenly things start to change a little bit. Joseph Campbell calls this the hero's journey, the shero's journey. It is that quest that we are on, that vision of a world transformed through the power of love. Who's going to create it? If we're waiting for someone else to create it, it's just not going to happen. It's up to us. We're the ones to create it. So just to review our unity teachings. So unity teachings, our first principle is that there is one power, one presence, known by many names. We call it God, divine light, whatever we call it, it's the same thing. Do you believe that? Say yes. And because there is one power, one presence, that means that we are not separate from it. Principle number 2, we're not separate from this power. And that means that we are inherently good, just as God is good. Do you believe that? Yes? Yeah, so third principle is that because we are one with the one, that means that we have creative power and that we create through how we choose to direct our thoughts. Do you believe that? Yes, so fourth principle is that because we are creative beings, we know that it is important to be centered in our hearts, centered in love. We do that through prayer. We do that through meditation, and we believe that prayer is a powerful tool in our own awakening and transformation. Do you believe that? Yes. Okay, fifth principle brings it all together. It's not enough to talk about this stuff. It's not enough to sit here and nod our heads and say, yes, yes, yes. We have to be in action. Yes? Yes, yes? Yes, yes. So we have to be in action. That's the fifth principle, is that knowing this and thinking it is not enough. We must step into the hero's journey and take action and do that which we are called to do. So that is the challenge. Step into the hero's journey. So I have a book, it's called What If It All Goes Right? And it's about how do we start from the consciousness that we are in, accepting where we are, loving what is. How do we stand in our reality, however ordinary and average it may seem? And from this place of here and now, how do we hold the vision for the new reality that we want to create? In Isaiah 65, verse 17, it says, "For behold, I create a new heavens and a new earth, and the former things will not be remembered or come to mind." Can you catch that vision? We are here to create a new heaven and a new earth, and when we do, the former things, you know what they are, will not be remembered. They will not even come to mind because we will be in a new reality. So that's what we want to create. We have this reality here. We have this vision that we want to create. How do we do that? So we have our reality that we say, I like my life. I like this about it and this about it, this about it. I want more of that. And from this reality, I don't like this and I don't like that. And these are the things that I want to change. And all of those are thoughts that float through our mind. And depending on how we respond to those thoughts, we might have this vision that we want or this calling that taps at us. But our mind might say, well, what if that doesn't work? What if it's too hard? So part of the hero's journey is, first of all, knowing that tapping, recognizing when we are getting that nudge, that call. Nod your head if you know that call. You know that tap. You've experienced it before. So that's the beginning of the hero's journey. And what typically happens, Joseph Campbell describes this, he says when the hero gets the call, the first thing that typically happens is we resist it. What if I can't do it? What if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not equipped? What if I don't know how to do that? What if somebody else could do that better than me? And these are thoughts that come out. So our thoughts have certain feelings attached to them. You know, if a thought feels icky, we don't do anything with it, and we stay stuck in a cycle. But if the thought inspires us, we might change our actions. So what happens is we see the calling, we feel the calling, we get these, what if I can't, what if I can't? And then the tapping doesn't go away. Have you noticed that? When it's a call of your soul, when it's a call of your spirit, it doesn't go away. And so then what happens is our mind starts thinking, well, what if I could? What if I try just so that this will stop tapping at me? You know, what if, even if I try and fail, it's better than resisting this thing? And we call that what if upping. So it's what ifing into a new possibility. It's what we call a new thought. This is new thought. A new thought can change our feelings, our actions, and it changes our reality when we can think a new thought. And so we set out on the journey, what if I can? And the amazing thing that happens when we step into that fifth unity principle of taking action is as soon as we step into it and take action, now, according to the hero's journey, supernatural forces appear. Jedi masters are there. We're guided. There's Yoda doing backflips, whatever he's doing. We're guided for everything we need. We are equipped in the journey. For Moses, he can take a staff, he can turn it into a snake. All these amazing signs start showing up, and we're like, oh, good, yes, I am on the right path. You know, you've had that happen? So I've got the calling, now I'm taking a step, now I'm getting the affirmations that I'm on the right path, and miracles start happening. So we hold up our staff and the Red Sea, it splits open, and we lead our people to the other side, and just in the nick of time, just when you thought all was lost, there we are on the other side. The seas close in, all the enemies swept away, and we do our happy dance, and we are celebrating and having such a great time until we turn around. There's a desert back there, and there's no turning back. And that's what happens on our hero's journey is we take the step in, we get all this affirmation that we're on the right path, we take the path and it leads us into a new evolution of ourself. And in order to get through it, we have to go through the wilderness. Joseph Campbell calls it the belly of the whale. So in the creative cycle, I talk about the power of non-attachment. It's being able to hold the vision without being attached to the vision. And what happens when we're willing to go into the belly of the whale, whether we do that through prayer, through meditation, one of my favorite authors, Khalil Gibran, talks about visiting the temple invisible. When we are willing to go into those dark, quiet places and allow ourselves to be transformed, something new emerges. And in that space, in that belly of the whale, in that, for Jesus, it was the tomb, or it's the womb, or it's the cocoon that we emerge from, whatever that is, in that space, all the desires of the ego, the wanting to achieve, the wanting to win, the wanting the grail because of all the glory, all of that dies. It all dies in the belly of the whale. And what emerges when we don't have all the ego's baggage, what emerges is what's left. Nothing but love. So it's not about fighting the evil forces anymore. Now it's about letting love express and having that calling be fulfilled through us. And from that love, that's when we find our Holy Grail. And that's when the Death Star explodes. And that's when Hogwarts is saved. And whatever that quest is, that's when the Mission Impossible is accomplished. And all these wonderful things happen because we are living in the reality of our own love, our own divine love. But that's not all. You would think that would be the end of the journey, right? Joseph Campbell writes this: those who know not only that the everlasting lies in them, but that what they are and what all things are is the everlasting. Those people dwell in the groves of the wish-fulfilling trees. They drink the brew of immortality and listen everywhere to the unheard music of eternal concord. That is what we step into when we're willing to go through that transformational process. And it is a process. Charles Fillmore, who is the co-founder of Unity, has a book called The Atom-Smashing Power of Mind. And in that, he says, the many examples of the power of man's mind should make us pause when we are tempted to consider any situation as disastrous or nearly so. Every adverse condition can be used as a spur to urge one to greater exertion and the ultimate attainment of some ideal that has lain dormant in the subconscious. The pessimist, he says, will say, I could make a better world than this. That's what the pessimist would say. Charles says, the optimist, however, and I would say the hero, will sing, go to it. That is what God put you here for. That is the hero's journey. That's what God put us here for, is not just to feel the love, but to be the love and to share the love in expression in our lives. So I was reminded on the break, John reminded me, he said, your talk reminded me of that book, Eat, Pray, Love. And I was like, oh gosh, when I was leading Unity FM, I had the opportunity to interview Elizabeth Gilbert, who's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. And one of the things I asked her, it was an amazing interview, and I asked her in that interview, read the book, changed my life. I said, what was it like to give birth to a book like that, to give birth to this thing? And she said, honestly, Mendhi, she said, I didn't give birth to that book. That book gave birth to me. Yes? Yes. And that is the hero's journey, is we have this quest and we think it's about the thing, don't we? We think it's about the thing, but really it's not. Every quest ends in the recognition and the awakening to our own light and our own love expressing. But that's not the end of the journey. Joseph Campbell says, this is the ultimate challenge. The returning hero, to complete his or her adventure, must survive the impact of the world. So once we have this awakening, we then must move into a world that is asleep and stay awake. That is the challenge, and that's the quest that we are on together. And so I invite you, if you're not in a small group, join a small group, because that's the hero's journey. That's where you have that support and encouragement to be on this path of awakening, not just for yourself, but for the whole planet. And it's so important right now. In the Bible, the word ecclesia appears over 115 times in the Bible, and typically is translated to mean church. But of course, in those days, there was no church, there were synagogues. So what were they talking about? The word ecclesia actually means, and I'm going to quote Lynn McTaggart from her book, The Power of Eight. She says it means a called out assembly or a congregation of people who meet with a specific purpose. A group with a unified purpose united into one body. That is what spiritual community is intended to be. What we call church is actually just a collection of those of us who are called into a common purpose, into a common quest. And for us, it's a quest of awakenment and enlightenment, awakening and enlightening. So, do you know the mission of this community? You're like, yes, we do. Like, pop quiz here. We put God, we celebrate, we serve, and empower people to. Oh, you did so good. You're all above average. So imagine, if you would, what if we all had the courage, the boldness, to step into that mission, to own that mission as our own. The power of this community to create awakening, not just within this community, but to be a force of transformation for the greater community, for the greater good. Can you feel the power of that? That we don't have to be on the quest alone, that it's actually even more powerful when we come together and support each other in that. So that is where it begins. I think of Star Wars, where Princess Leia says, "Help me, Obi-Wan. You're the only hope. You're our only hope." What if the hope of humanity is the average person? Doing our thing, but doing it from love. Doing it from a space of love. The founder of Outward Bound is Kurt Hahn. So he does these programs where you go out in the wilderness, you go on these quests. And one of the things that he says, one of my favorite quotes, he says, "There is more to us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for less." There is so much within us. And when we bring that together in the spirit of love, transformation happens. So repeat after me. If you are brave enough and if you are courageous enough to step into the quest, I invite you to affirm after me. I put God first. I celebrate life. I serve only truth. And I empower people to transform their lives, starting with my own. May the force be with you. Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you like the message, we invite you to like it or share it. And we also want to let you know that we're on Instagram, Twitter, and we'll see you again next Sunday on Facebook at 11:25.
We're a New Thought church where lives are transformed, and we welcome you to check us out. Check out our website, unityhills.org. We'll see you next week.
Namaste.